Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 305 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today I welcomed North Carolina-based artist Julian Argo to the show. Julian was sent to me by Dom. Shout out to Dom for always sending me amazing guests. And we had a really cool conversation. Julian told me about his beginnings in music around 2010, how he also was a huge fan of poetry and how he also wrote poetry coming up in high school and into college, and what that taught him as far as being able to write raps, how that eventually translated to him making music more consistently, mixing, mastering his own stuff, producing a lot of his own stuff as well. We also talked about how that has led all the way up to him releasing a string of projects over the years. His most recent single, which is called Skin Freestyle, he told me the story about that and how he used kind of a flash of inspiration to be able to do that song and a lot of the other songs that are going to be coming out here over the course of the rest of this year into next year. He talked about being able to work with individuals like Dom, helping him on the content side, being able to push his music in the right way, and overall just the mindset he has as far as being able to do a lot of things himself while also working with the right people. I think it's a very healthy formula for him, and I think it's something we can all take notes on to be able to help push ourselves in our own careers. And I think it's just all about finding the ways to do that. And Julian is finding the ways that work for him. So I appreciate him stopping by this week, sharing that with us. And I'm excited to see what he does moving forward. So without further ado, let's get into this one. All right, so this is episode 305. Happy to be joined today by Julian Argo. How you doing, Julian?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great, man. And I'm glad that Dom got us in touch. I know we've been planning this and, waiting on this for a minute, but I'm glad to have you here today. And I usually kind of have the guests start out by giving kind of a brief synopsis. How did you get into music? How long have you been at it? Just for those that might not know you and what you do.
Got you. So, I'm based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Primarily an artist. I do a little bit of engineering and producing as well. What really got me into music is just it always being, hip hop really has just always been around since I was younger. I was kind of put onto it at a very early age, and always had a notebook. I was always writing. And then when I got to about high school, I really started taking English class very serious. I started taking poetry very serious. And then that eventually turned into me rhyming over beats and things like that. So, I'd say now I've been going at it strong for over 10 years now. But it was just something that was kind of always, I felt like was in my blood for real. So I just kept at it and I sharpened my pen.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah. So we're looking at probably 2015, 2016, somewhere in there is kind of where
I started in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's when I got some of my first audio equipment was in 2010, 2011-ish.
Yeah.
And so I just been recording myself ever since.
Nice. And I've always heard from people, especially that started with, kind of a mix of poetry and then obviously turning it into rhymes. It can kind of be a little bit different because I feel like in poetry, there's kind of a little bit of different set of rules to it. And you can kind of bend the rules a lot more with, rhyming and things like that. So was there ever a challenge of trying to shift from one to the other in the early stages, or just trying to find your voice in both?
For sure. So when I was taking poetry serious in high school, it was more so it had to rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it did.
Yeah.
And then once I went off to college, I actually studied English, and I would take poetry classes, and I realized whoa, this is I I looked kind of idiotic for a little minute because I was trying to make sure everything rhymed and no, there's structure. Like things go here, this does that. There's different things like iambic pentameter and just like different counts of like how you write your stuff. And so like I feel like it was a natural progression with rapping because for me, just coming up, there was a lot more to study. You can study different cadences of different people, different tonalities of different artists. But when it comes down to poetry, it's like, can you make it come alive on the page? So for me, it was a lot tougher to actually write within a structure or write within a certain set of limitations. Whereas like with rhyming, you kind of go based off sonic, like what you can hear. So I think that would be the biggest difference for me between rapping and poetry. They're both, I don't want to say equally difficult, but they both have their challenges that I respect on both sides of that. Yeah.
Well, I definitely know that they are difficult because I gotta say for myself, I've never been able to do either one very well, and I definitely respect people that are able to do either of them or both of them very well. So it's definitely a skill that has to be honed and has to be learned for sure. And I guess that leads me into your songwriting, where it is now, because you said around 2010 is where this kind of all got going. So that's 15 plus years at that point. So how do you think your songwriting process has evolved over the years, and do you feel yourself getting more in a zone every single year with knowing how you want to approach each song that you do?
Well, I feel like my progress was like not linear at all. Like it took me a while to really polish my sound or like polish the way that I write records and understanding that you can do a lot less with more. Coming up, you hear all of the hit records and you like, they ain't really saying nothing. Mm-hmm. But it's like, actually they're saying a lot. You know what I mean? Like if you really break it down, like, instead of trying to cram so many words in or trying to cram all of these smart, articulate words in, it's like you can do a lot more with just, saying how you feel. And that's not to discredit any like people that take lyricism very seriously. I'm one of those people myself. But just to kind of get back to the question, I think over time there was a while where I was trying to just force great rhymes. Like I got to be the best rapper. I got to rap the best. Now it's just like, I want to make songs to where when I get in the car and I listen to them, I almost forget that's me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I would say that now the songwriting process I take it a little bit more serious as far as making sure the sound is polished, not from necessarily like a audio quality, but just from like a delivery standpoint, from, how I'm saying things on the record, beat selection, what instruments are in that beat. Like, things have to move the audience and they have to move me as well now, instead of me just trying to pound the pavement with raps.
Yeah, it almost has to be a perfect marriage of all the elements, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I think that as a fan of music, I think anybody can agree that your favorite songs, they have good beats, good lyrics, the mixing is probably pretty good, like everything is working in unison. If one thing kind of outweighs the other, then it's not really going to work, or it's not going to be as effective in that way. And I think that's a great approach to music. I think for you that kind of means that you're not really necessarily worried about how much you're putting out. You're more worried about the quality of what you're actually putting out there for people, which is nice. And I know you just dropped a freestyle recently as well, Skin Freestyle, and that was kind of like the first offering for this year. So tell us about that track and what is that going to eventually lead to for the rest of this year, I guess.
So, the Skin Freestyle came about. So a couple years ago, I released an album called Filthy, produced entirely by myself. And that project was like fun and free. And I did allow myself to be a little bit more lyrical or witty or say something that might sound stupid or cliche. I let the music be the music. And kind of on the tail end of that, I say I got inspired maybe beginning of last year, end of 24, and I kind of was just experimenting with that same sound that was on that project Filthy. And the beat was something that I had for a while. And then I just was walking my dog one day or something, and I was like, the first lines came to me that, they'll hate you just because they ain't got your skin. I was like, oh, that's it. And the flow was there, everything was there. So it kind of was a song that just hit me out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, I got to do it. And for me, I'd say it's rare that I had those moments where like I'll wake up out the middle of the night and be like, I got the whole song, or like I'm walking and doing something and it's like, oh shit, here's the whole song. Like I have it. But a lot of it is like built upon like I might have a hook idea or I might have a verse idea. But the skin freestyle was one of those things where it was more of a free verse or a free write. But I knew what I wanted to do as soon as I said those first few lines. But coming up this year, I'm wanting to release more singles. I already have like a content plan in place. So I'm going to be dropping a lot more singles. I do have an album done. Still kind of working out some kinks as far as like mixing and mastering and things, certain things. I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes down to like projects. Like singles, I'm cool with. But when it comes down to like an album, I like to be able to story tell or, take it a little bit more serious. So, yeah, I got some things coming down the pipeline. So for sure.
Wanted to take a quick minute out of today's episode to let you guys know of a way that you can support the show, a way that you can donate some funds to us, starting at as little as $5 or more via our Ko-fi page. Now, we've been using Ko-fi now for a few years, and it's been a very effective way to generate some funds that we end up using for, future guests, sponsors, just an overall way to keep this show as quality as it has been for the last several years, and we always appreciate any and all contributions. So if you go to coffee.com/The Proven Knowledge Podcast, that's KO-FI.com/The Proven Knowledge Podcast, you can donate, like I said, $5 or more. It gives you that option to do 10, 20, 30, or just type in whatever amount. Any contributions are appreciated, and I do this show from the bottom of my heart for the love of it at the end of the day, but those funds are always welcome because they do allow us to do more and be more flexible with how we continue to grow this platform in the future. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that. The link will be in the description of the show notes of this episode you're listening to now, so definitely check it out. But without further ado, let's get back into the episode. That's awesome. And I think for that freestyle as well, I think it's good to always be able to kind of chase a feeling. You know what I mean? I think that's a great example of being able to chase the feeling that you had in that moment and say, I got to get this done immediately and act on that idea. Because I think a lot of people, they will have these ideas and then they'll let them sit for too long, and then they'll end up losing that inspiration. So I think it's good that you kind of ran with it in the moment and were able to do that. And I'm definitely excited to see what is to come for the rest of this year as well. And on the content side of things, obviously you're working with Dom. You and I both know Dom puts in a lot of work behind the scenes, does a lot of great things for artists. So I guess I would ask, what's it been like working with Dom, first of all, but who else are you working with to kind of help, move this thing along and really kind of execute this plan that you have for 2026 and all this new music you got coming?
Dom for sure has been a blessing as far as like the marketing side of things. He did a lot of like reaffirming of some concepts and some things that I was already thinking. And just as far as like, man, getting out there and shooting the content, like some people have like a team, like a videographer or somebody they can pay to just be like, hey, come shoot this video, or let's knock out 100 pieces of content. But I had to do all that like myself. Like, so the Skin Freestyle, the video for it, I shot that. I dropped like another video on Instagram, just kind of like to tease another song. And it's like, I find joy in shooting the content myself. I'm able to drive the narrative. It's the same as like being able to record myself, right? Like having access to my vocals. So if I need to make a show mix, I can just do that right on the fly. Or if I'm watching a video and I'm like, oh, I don't like that, I can reshoot it. I don't have to, go back in and pay anybody or anything like that. But I guess to get back more on topic, I want to continue to work with Dom, just because he's got some great ideas. He's not afraid to, put an elbow in there and really like work out your plan and work out what you want to do. He's got me played in, in Africa, which is like, that's crazy to me. Like, that's just wild. So yeah, we're just gonna continue to work on that and build that content strategy out a little bit more, and just really work that thing out, man. Because it's like, for a while, I didn't want to market the music. I just felt like, not entitlement, but just more so like, if the music is good, people will hear it.
Yeah.
But now, as I get a little bit older and that I've kind of like studied the game myself, it's like, nah, you really got to work with people. You got to work with a team to really bring home wins. That's what it's about. So
yeah.
yeah.
And it's great to be able to foster those relationships with the right type of people too, that see the vision that you have and want to see you win as well. Which is a big thing. And I think you brought up a great point about the whole DIY side of things too, because it's great because, you can work with people, right? But you can also still do a lot on your own. And I think that's how you develop these relationships in general. They have to see that you're willing to do things on your own and that you've already done a lot of the things on your own before you're working with anybody. So being able to do that opens up a lot of doors. So I guess I would ask you, how important is it to be able to have that DIY factor still involved in what you're doing? And like, how important is it to, like you said, be able to, at any moment, you could just kind of shift it wherever you want, and the freedom of being able to do that? How important is that freedom to you?
Freedom is, especially in the business that we're in, freedom is king. You know what I mean? Because you are able to, one, if you can shoot the content, edit the content, you're not just limited to music. A camera has multiple uses. Same thing with like recording audio. You could record podcasts for folks and stuff like that. But I say all that to say, freedom is probably the most important thing you have, simply because you own it. So you can control it. And, as long as, I was having a conversation the other day, and basically like, we're in the age of information, and like, what can I do with data? So being able to be so DIY, when you test something like, oh, I shot this video and like people love it, it's like, not only am I getting data from like the algorithm, but I'm also getting data like, oh shit, like my content is getting better. Like, these camera angles work. Like these are the things that people want to see. So it's all about owning your creative endeavors, being able to capitalize and extrapolate that data from those moves that you're making. I mean, being able to do something yourself it's empowering.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think that helps you get better at each step too, because you're able to study what you've already done and then apply that to the future things that you're planning. And like you said, you get better and better, and you see yourself getting better and better, which in turn motivates you to want to keep going. And so it's like a great thing all the way around. So it's awesome to hear that that's been the experience for you as well. So I'm definitely excited for you, man. And that's super awesome. And we're going to get into these last few questions here. These are ones I ask on every single episode, more life-related ones. The first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago, give yourself any piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
If I could go back 10 years, I would tell myself to be patient with myself, to love myself a little bit more, and to, for lack of better words, let my nuts hang. Like, you are the shit. I would tell 10 years ago, that's what I'd tell myself. You the shit. You can do it. You can do whatever you put your mind to.
Yeah, because that confidence goes a long way.
For sure.
It really does. Yeah, I totally feel that one. And 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself in music and all your other endeavors, but also life in general?
10 years from now, I definitely want to be in a position to help others, whether it be music related, whether it be life related. As I get a little bit older, I realize that like each one teach one, and that, we all are leaning on one another for knowledge, information, and just learning more about this thing we call life. So I think in 10 years, I would want to be helping people in whatever capacity. I don't want to put nothing on it right now, but I just want to help others. I want to be able to push people to be their best self.
Yeah. being able to help the next person definitely is how we continue to build healthy cycles and healthy habits of, like you said, being able to give back in those ways. And then hopefully they'll do it to someone else, right? That's the goal.
For sure.
Yeah, so that's awesome. And do you have any final words of wisdom for the listeners? Anything you want to leave people with kind of to motivate them?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you for the opportunity and your time, to be able to speak on this platform for sure. I'm going to leave them with the same advice that I would leave myself. Whatever it is that you want to go for, do it. Don't let nobody knock you off your square, off your pivot. Prioritize yourself. I know that we have to, interact with other people and we have to do things for others and live life in that way. But make sure that you get in your time, whether it's, if it's a beautician out there that loves to do whatever she like to do on the other side of the beautician stuff, go do that. If you love golf, but you don't never have time to play, man, get out there and go play. Like, just make sure you doing something that's gonna pour into you. Do some self-love and some self-inventory every once in a while, so you don't get lost out here.
Yeah. What's the saying about you have to keep your glass full in order to fill up other people's glasses, exactly. Something like that. Yeah.
Word.
So yeah, I think it goes back to that as well. And I gotta say, man, I really am inspired by your drive, your motivation, and the goals that you have and what you're already doing. And I'm excited to see what is going to come out of that here in the future. So I want to say again, thank you for stopping by today, man. And if you ever want to come back on here for a part 2 when you got some more new music out there, we'll definitely make it happen. So thanks, man.
For sure, man. I appreciate you.
Just want to say thank you for tuning in today. Be sure to hit that coffee link in the description of this episode if you'd like to donate any funds. And we'll see you back here with another new episode next week. As always, thank you for your support.